So just to give you a little bit of background and take off where Kritik, ended is that we are auto cars, so it's all about the car. And frankly, the main driving or the main reason to go to Iran was to do a road trip. I mean, if there was no driving, frankly, we would not have gone. That's really is the driving factor, so to speak. And I think that's actually what made it really, really unique because normally it's very difficult to drive in Iran, but once you're there, it's not that difficult at all. So what we did was we got together a group of people and we actually shipped cars from India to Iran, put them on a ship, sent them there. We partnered with Mahindra and Mahindra Adventure. Mahindra were phenomenally supportive. They gave us six Alturas vehicles, which is a top of the line SUV at that point. And we sent them off there. They landed in Bandar Abbas, the port, which is in the south of Iran. And I think we had a great arrangement. They had a bunch of people who drove up all the way north to Tehran. And then our group flew in, and then we drove from Tehran down. So before we take off, I just have to say that this is my second trip to Iran, and it's definitely not going to be my last. In fact, it's a place you'd want to go back again and again because I think once you go there, it's all about expectations. You have different expectations, different perceptions, and once you go there, you realize it's such a welcoming country, quite easy to get around. It's very, very safe. They love Indians, and it's really not not the perceptions you get, especially which has been driven by the West. So again, tourism's not developed there at all, which in a way is great because you can enjoy the country without massive crowds. Currency has taken such a hammering, unfortunate for the people of Iran, but great for tourists like us. So really, it is incredibly cheap. It is a holiday that you can have a phenomenal holiday for not much. And the driving is actually terrific. The roads are wide, they're empty, and the petrol is ridiculously cheap. I mean, I don't know. Today we are at 100 rupees a liter, but when we were there in 2019, it was 9 rupees a liter, just 9 rupees. So that was something which I think makes another factor that makes driving really good over there. But they do drive quite crazily over there. So that's something you have to watch out for. So I'm going to start off right at the beginning, which is the cars coming out of the ship and out of the containers. So this is how they came. They were all shipped in containers to Bandar Abbas, and then finally put on a trailer to get to Shiraz, which was the starting point for the first group. Because Bandar Abbas to Shiraz, not much happening, and just in the interest of time, the leg was Shiraz to Tehran, Tehran down, which we took. And there is Bandar Abbas, and so that's it. So everyone, for me, the focus is on a road trip. This is a very different kind of let's say a tour. Wasn't really a religious tour, to be honest. It was just looking at what the country had to offer and driving through it and soaking up the experience from behind the wheel. So I think what I'm going to do actually is just in the interest, I'm just going to put my video off because I just don't want any bandwidth. Don't want to have any bandwidth problems.
Hormazd, could you also go full screen?
Yeah, how do I do that? Hang
I
on.
think it should be
Okay.
under
Yeah,
view.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Is that
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Better?
Thank you.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I'm not too... Okay, great. So this is a typical view you get from Tehran. We are in Tehran, and this is really an iconic view. That's the Millard Tower, which is the sixth tallest tower in the world, and it's the tallest building in Iran or Tehran. And, it gives you a fantastic bird's eye view, and obviously there's a restaurant on top. And what's absolutely amazing about Tehran is these mountains, these snow-capped mountains around you, the Elbrus Mountain. It's a really beautiful city. And one thing which, again, you have these different perceptions as you think, not being being a poor country and hit so hard by economic sanctions, there'd be a lot of poverty and, it would be dirty. Quite to the contrary, it is spankingly clean. People are very proud over there, and they like to keep things, as in good shape as possible. That's another view of Tehran. This is the view we had from our hotel, which was in the north. It was the Espinaz Hotel. So that's what the city looks like. And again, you can see you've got these buildings. This is the north, which is a more affluent area. You've got these amazing mountains behind. So just fantastic waking up to this view every day. So we start the tour actually with is the Niyawaran Palace. Now this is quite modern actually. It was the last Shah's palace. He had built it in 1968, and it was basically a museum. Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. It was his sort of palace, and he. I think, as you can see, he was very influenced by the West. Is very Western, very French, and these are just some images of how they lived. And clearly, the good thing is that they've kept everything as is, but you can just see the style, the grandeur, and the opulence with which the Shahs lived. And this is one of their. I mean, they're known for their Persian carpets, but this is quite an amazing carpet because it has, as you can see, a lot of kings and royalty on the carpet over there. And frankly, I don't know, you'd feel a little bad walking on it, but some of you might know that Persian carpets, they wear well if you keep walking on them. But of course, this was being a museum piece, it was really well preserved. So you can just see the detailing and the work on this one. That's our group over here, part of the group. That's Arish the Warrior. Again, Arish, very Parsi name, and we know that that comes from. And I think that's what what you feel is just that sense of belonging. It's amazing because you come out of the airport, frankly, you think you walked into Kushubag or something. Everyone, it looks familiar, and there's a very strange, it's a very unique sense of, feeling at home over here, even though they don't speak a word of what you do, all Farsi, no Gujarati, and that's. But I think just looking at them, you just know that you've come from here. Now this is the Shah's car collection. He was quite a car aficionado. Whole bunch of Rolls Royces. Obviously, he couldn't take these along with with him when he fled, but they've preserved this. And that's Farah Diba's Mercedes Roadster, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, they've kept that as well. This is again another very iconic monument. It's absolutely beautiful. It's the Azadi Tower in Tehran, and it's about 50 meters tall, and it's made of white marble from Isfahan. So really, very very beautiful, and it gives you a sense of the aesthetic sense that these people have. And here we come to the Golestan Palace, which really is a phenomenal. It is, sorry, this one's out of sync. It is the Golestan Palace it's a remains of sort of Tehran's historical citadel, and it really glitters like a jewel. And it's built at the time of one of the earlier Shahs in the Safavid period, and it's been reconstructed from time to time, and it really is just a symbol of the absolute opulence with which they lived. So just running you through some pictures over here. This is the staircase. You can see a lot of mirror work, very, very intricate. It really glitters, and the sense of scale and just the sheer opulence that there is in here, and the indulgence with which they lived is just fantastic. Yeah. So just a few shots of this. Now this is quite interesting. This pedestal, which is huge in itself, is where the peacock throne once was. Now, from which I didn't know at that time, peacock throne's been broken up. It doesn't exist anywhere. But you can imagine how big it was by just looking at the size of the pedestal. So this is really where the peacock throne was placed. But that's the only thing we have left of it, is the pedestal of it. Again, here's you can just see the kind of phenomenal workmanship which really abounds throughout Iran. Wherever you go, it's just the quality of everything is just absolutely brilliant. That's one thing that just astounds you. Some more pictures of the Golestan Palace, and so this is an interesting picture. This again is a collection of the Shahs. This is actually a meteorite, so it's come from outer space, and they've kept it there as a museum piece. Yeah, this is one of the rooms. Just look at that. Just look at the ceiling also. All mirror work, intricate, super detailed, phenomenal quality. In how they must have done this is amazing. And of course, massive, massive rugs and carpets. And this is a tourist delight. That is the equivalent, or was the equivalent of 1000 US dollars. It gets you this much money. There are so many zeros on it, you can't even begin to count. It's just crazy trying to keep track of what it all adds up to. But I think the currency has been so badly hit. I think at that time it was, I think $1 got you 140,000 real. So you can just imagine how many zeros you'd have to add. But I think from a tourist point of view, everything super cheap, from accommodation, food, and as I told you, petrol as well. So yeah, and you need big bags to hold it, and you can't put it in your wallet. That's for sure. And that's just an example of a bill, or let's say dinner for a couple of people. Lots of zeros over there, but this was not more than $10. Just a picture of good old Persian cat. Lots of them around where we went, and no dogs over here, but lots of cats. And so the road trip starts. There we are. I think the group's getting into the car, and uh, driving here is fairly easy. The way we did it was, we had a convoy. We had a car in front which kind of cleared the way. We were all interconnected by radios, so communication was not a problem. We're really proud that we could arrange this level of let's say this experience, because otherwise people would be a little scared to drive on their own over here. So we had a lead car, we had a sweep car. Everyone was connected with radios. And so when you're driving in a convoy, of course it's the other side of the road, which is the right side of the road, and we had right hand drive vehicles, so that's really a bit challenging, but everything was dual carriageway, so no problems there. That's all of us lining up to pay the toll. Again, uh, we had the lead car. You can see it's that white XUV 100. You may not, if you can recognize it. They would jump out. They would pay toll for all of us. So we didn't have to do anything. We just then, just breeze through the toll station. There again, just stopping for a break. And the scenery is just absolutely spectacular. I mean, I think that's one thing again which you don't imagine how beautiful the country is, and just in terms of natural beauty. Obviously there's desert, there's mountain, and there's just this wide open expanse. It's really quite amazing. So this rose petals is just a slight abstract shot from. We've come to Kashan now. Kashan, there's a historical Persian garden. It's called the Finn Garden, and it's really known for its rose water. So I think everyone over here got a lot of rose water, and it was. I think this is really what it stands for. So you go here. There's that lovely, sweet, distinct scent of rose as you go there. And again, this was just our first stop. This again is Kashan. Structures here, you can just look at them. They're so well kept, and they look like they were just built yesterday. This is a typical shot of being on the road. As you can see, wide open. That's our convoy. Again, not too much traffic. So, if you like to drive, this is actually a great place to drive, because you just don't have to deal with traffic at all. Roads are wide open. They do have speed limits, and can catch you for speeding, but far and few between. And the scenery just keeps changing, and you can see you're never too far away from these snow-capped Elbrus Mountains in the north. And we've reached Isfahan. This is a very it's a Siosopol bridge. It's really very iconic again. It's very, very popular, big tourist attraction. It's got 33 arches, and it was originally built as a dam, but now become a tourist spot. And again, you can just see the architecture over here, the symmetry, and clearly, I think, just the way they make things, it's at a different level. Dinner, now this is in a 400-year-old a restaurant. So it is, I forget the name, but again, uh, really had a lot of character. And food, I have to tell you that it kind of, uh, you start liking it, but then it does get a bit monotonous. Not great for vegetarians. We didn't have any vegetarians on the trip, but very, very dry stuff. The usual kebabs, kubide, rice, bread, that sort of thing. Now, this is quite interesting because in a country that's almost entirely Muslim, you suddenly get something like this, which is this cathedral, this Vank Cathedral. And again, just look at how well kept and how well maintained and restored it is. I mean, this is from the early 17th century, 1606 or something like that. It's really a cathedral which was built by Armenians, and it's been kept, and it's a big tourist attraction in Isfahan. Here are shots of the cathedral. You think you could be in Europe. Really hard to imagine. This is Isfahan. Look at that. That's a Vank Cathedral. Really, just absolutely stunning. And that's the thing. They just keep everything so pristine over there. So here are some schoolgirls, again, very inquisitive, very friendly. They want to know where you've come from, and that's really the warmth over there is something which is just phenomenal. You don't, something you don't expect. They don't view you with suspicion or anything, and just super, super friendly. Now, this is, I think, one of the most beautiful squares in the world. It's Naqsh Jahan, which is really the second largest square after Tiananmen Square, again constructed in the 16th and 17th century. It's a World Heritage Site, UNESCO World Heritage Site. Is about I think it's 560 meters long, and really this is, I think, one of it. Again, you can see it's very open, very spread out. You've got shops along the sides. You've got two mosques at either end, and lots to see inside also. Now, this is quite a unique bit of structure, and you can see again how ornate, how intricate this is. This is the Ali Kapu Palace, which has a music room. Now, if you see the music room, and when you speak over there, you realize how acoustically brilliant this is. So these little hollows over there, they've been designed in a way very scientifically to capture sound. So there's no echo, there's no resonance. And it genuinely is like one of these anechoic chambers, which people make today with a lot of science and technology. But this is equivalent of that. And really the kind of sound quality literally inside here was absolutely amazing. And to think, again, this was about 400-500 years ago. Again, a little detail inside this is the Imam Mosque. And again, you can see the level of workmanship here. And if you look over here, if you can see where my cursor is, the way the light hit, it's like a peacock's tail, what they call. And just amazing the way the light catches over here. So again, absolutely fantastic. Another shot of the Imam Mosque from the outside. Again, you can see how absolutely stunning it is. Now, again, what you realize is just what an innate sense of aesthetic the Iranians have, especially in people like Isfahan. Now, this is just a normal street. Just see what they've done here. Just cut out of these little mosaics, this little tree, just works of art on the street. This is just a normal street. So it's just amazing how, you turn a corner and you see something like this, where you least expect it. They love their tea, and it's very sweet with this little sugar stick over here. Carpet shopping, of course. uh, that's a big tourist attraction. They really have to haggle hard over here, very, very hard, but you can get some good deals given the fact that the way the currency has, been the currency has sank or depreciated. So again, fabulous carpets, all kinds, and you can go quite mad in some of these carpet shops if you like them. That's uh, the Imam's the square at night, Nakshe Jahan Square at night. Absolutely brilliant. Again, you can just see how fresh, how clean they keep it, and I think really for me, this is one of those places where you can just spend hours and hours just hanging out. There's small cafes over there. People are friendly. You feel completely safe. In fact, our group people were going after dinner, coming here, taking taxis late at night. Absolutely no problem. That's another shot of the Imam Mosque lit up. And again, this is a bus stop, but just look at this bus stop with stained glass. This is what is just amazing about this place. Even something like a bus stop is turned into a work of art. And don't forget, this is not a rich country. So you really don't expect this over here. So we hit the road, getting deep into the desert right now, and our next stop really was Chak Chak. Now, Chak Chak is, I think, a very holy site for the Zoroastrians. A lot of you would know about it. It's really a pilgrimage site, and it's you have to climb about 230 steps to a cave where the fire is kept alight and has been there for many years. This is the view you get of it. Stark desert, and suddenly you have this small oasis uh, perched on top of this hill, and it's quite a climb up there. That's the whole gang, and I prefer this shot, just the cars. That's a convoy of cars. Strike a pretty sharp pose in the middle of the desert. Yeah, this is Chak Chak right at the top, and this was really an amazing experience. We've come to Yazd. Obviously, we know what they think of the Chinese and what they think of their own workmanship. Again, Yazd, a quaint little town. Just wandering through the bazaar over there, you really go back in time where you see these old shops of antiquities here. One of these are selling these radios from, I don't know, the 40s or 50s. Now this is the I think the Cham village. This is the Zoroastrian village, and this is where they have an Agyari over there, fire temple. And this is the Dakma over there in Yaz, not far from Cham village. Now, it was abandoned in the 60s, but really it's been kept, the way it's been preserved is just phenomenal. And really, a lot of us can relate to it. Here you can see it on the left over here. It's really well preserved. And again, just in the middle of this desert, it's just the whole topography is just staggeringly beautiful. Here you can see at the top, I mean, again, typical Dakmu with the three circles over here. So, really well preserved. Here's everyone climbing up to it. Sorry, I can't avoid keeping, I have to have some car shots in there all the time. Here's another shot of it. And here's the main Atash Beram in Yazd. So again, it's quite fairly modern. It's built in the 1930s, and I think this is really the only one outside India. And again, quite well kept. Oops, sorry, you'll have to just tilt left to this, but again, here's another shot of it. So again, they really value their history. They keep the historic sites well preserved. They mark them out well. Here are little bylanes in Yazd. And then by chance, we bumped into a whole bunch of Zoroastrians, a lot of them from India, and there was a gambar going on, which we just missed. And sadly, we came a bit too late, but I believe that's what held the Dhansak, which was over before we arrived. But it was just great, just impromptu, meeting and having this wonderful meeting. That was again the steps going down to where the gambar was. Yeah. Salads, they love their salads over there, and again, portions are pretty big. Yeah. And they love their bread too. So again, this is just off the road, and yeah, this is a typical roadside scene in Yazd. Again, this to me again is another phenomenal bit of art. I mean, just look at this. You think it was designed by some sort of computer. In fact, it looks like a computer design, a computer graphic. Actually, it's so symmetrical, so perfect. But again, this was designed in a couple of 100 years ago, and it's part of what is a wind catcher. They have wind catchers in Iran, and especially unique to Yazd, and they very cleverly use the convection current of winds and guide it down to cool water below, and there it cools the room. And there's a good temperature difference of about 4 or 5 degrees. So really, in a way, air conditioning started in this part of the world. Again, some stained glass over there in the Daulatabad Gardens. Now, this was a very unique kind of experience we have of what they call very Yazd wrestling. It's quite curious for us to see. They're not really fighting, but this very slow motion dance with these heavy dumbbells and weights and posturing. And they sweat quite a lot while they're doing it, but it's quite unique to see. And this is the Jame Mosque again in Yaz. Again, a very typical of the cities over there at that time, where you have these mosques and these grand squares. And again, this mosque is on one of the banknotes, so really quite famous. That's a shot of it at night. A souvenir shop over there. Really felt bad for them because how do I say, no tourists at all. They were really desperate for business. uh, People are generally scared to go to Iran for whatever reason. And the time we went, Trump had kind of reimposed sanctions. There was this tension between US and Iran, so any small sign of trouble, people tend to stay away. But I think it's such a misconception. Once you're here, you're just absolutely safe. There's two beautiful parrots, and yeah, you just keep seeing something that just is so unique. And yeah, as we were driving past, there's this cypress tree which is more than 4,000 years old. That's where it is. So lots of interesting things to see as you drive along. We would make these small brief stops. Great when you have your car, you're really flexible, you're not bound by a schedule on a bus. And frankly, there's no other way I would have done this except driving myself. It is a big hassle to do that, but I think it's really well worth it. The coffee stop at this place. Yeah, again, this is a very famous, what they call the Agazade Mansion, which is, again, it's a big wind catcher. You can see the structure on top. These tall wind catchers, they really kind of act as natural air conditioning. And this is our guide, Anahita. She's showing up a banknote which has this very monument on it. So really quite iconic as well. That's Gulzar, another one of our guides, and that's typical lunch. So kebabs, kebabs, and more kebabs. And here we are coming to Pasar Gade, where again from desert you get into this fabulous kind of open green plains over here. Again, looks like Europe, doesn't look like Iran, and you can know why that Cyrus the Great. This was why Pasar Gade was his base, and he's even buried here. That's the tomb of Cyrus the Great. Again, very, for what he was, it's just very simple, uh, nothing ornate. And again, it's just something which you don't expect. Just in the middle of this massive green meadow, you have this. And yeah, that's another view of the remains of Pasargad. Very, very green in this part. Yeah. So we've reached Shiraz, a typical dinner in one of the restaurants. You sit down, squat, and that's how it is. This is the Iran gate, in which actually marks the entrance of Shiraz. So if you're coming from the north, this is again one of the structures. And this is Persepolis, which is just absolutely unbelievable. It's the capital of the Achaemenid Empire, founded by Darius and Darius the Great. And you can see this is what they call the entrance of the nations. And these two winged, let's say, statues over here, or sculptures. And frankly, this picture doesn't do it justice, because the kind of size it's just absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, that's Persepolis again. And as many of you know, it was completely destroyed, ruined by Alexander the Great. And I think, but even what's left of it, you can just kind of visualize the sort of grandeur that there was, because just the columns, each of them about, I think, 20 meters high. And it had this massive, you can have to just visualize it. It had this grand hall over there with 100 pillars of these. So really the scale was something phenomenal. And I think what was kind of preserved and not destroyed were these sculptures, which, and the detailing is just absolutely amazing. Again, the ruins of Persepolis. It's going to run through this. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a kind of a overview on Persepolis. For me, it was fantastic, but I think it's just the whole experience of being there, which is sometimes even greater than the historic value of this place. Yeah. Ashok as we know it. And again, you can see the detail over here. So, they have these kind of, all this workmanship on these walls. Basically, it shows people from different parts of the world coming. What they've said about 22 different nations, where they were coming with gold, with gifts, everything to the king over here. It's honestly, these pictures don't do justice. Just the scale, it's just absolutely takes your breath away. Again, this is actually represents from India, actually. So you can see the donkey, and not a great picture, but again, just the detailing is phenomenal. Again, as I said, this is to represent people from different parts of the world coming here to kind of pay their uh, respects. Again, another shot of the entrance. This kind of gives you some idea of scale. Completely in ruins. A lot of it is down to rubble, but it's a massive, massive place. And this shot I'm very proud of because we got special permission to line up our convoy in front of the walls of Persepolis. Typically, you have to park your car a good half kilometer away and then walk. But we got special permission for this photo op. And I think this is really a historic picture from, I don't know whether we can ever do this again. And we move now to we move to where all the kings were buried. This is Necropolis, what they call, and this is here where they are put into Nakshe Rustam. You can see that these are actually tombs of many of the kings over here. So the last of the Achaemenid kings, and you can again see the massive scale of this place. Yeah. And with all of us there, you get a better idea. Lunch, again, very, very dry. Tasty at first, but eventually gets to you. Now we are in Shiraz, and this again, Shiraz is really a very beautiful city. Compared to, let's say, Tehran, Shiraz is more freewheeling. You can sense there's a lot more culture over here. It's a lot friendlier, a lot younger, and they love their gardens. And this is really the what they call the Iram Gardens, really very well known, and it's really a tourist hotspot. And what's amazing is that within Iran, a lot of people love to travel themselves. In fact, I remember at Chak Chak, we found this group of three girls driving alone in their car all over Iran, just as regular tourists. So they really travel within their country, and the fact that there are not too many international tourists, I think it's the domestic tourists that keeps them going. And it is a great place for wedding photo ops. A lot of married couples come here for their wedding pictures. That's again part of the Iram Gardens. Spices in the market. So their bazaars again are very buzzing. Lots of action happening here. So again, another shot of Iram Gardens. And this is the Tomb of Hafiz. So again, it's a very important monument in Shiraz. It's in memory of the Persian poet Hafiz. And again, when we went, it was peak tourist season, quite crowded. I mean, the way I've taken the shot is not with the crowds, but again, packed with a lot of domestic tourists. We just gone where spring is the best time to go. The weather-wise also it's the best, but that's also when it's the most crowded before their hot summer sets in. And this is again, going to the Vakil Bazaar. Again, another tourist site which is quite popular. I think that was lunch over there. And sorry, I think the sequence has changed, but this is, I think for me, the best site in Shiraz, which is the Pink Mosque. And it's really known for the stained glass and especially the kind of light it throws when the sun hits it at a certain angle throughout the interior. This is the Pink Mosque, Nasser ol Mulk Mosque. That's what it is. Again, just look at how well preserved, well kept, the detailing, the workmanship. It could rival anything in Europe or anywhere in the world. And these are our three guides. Women over here, very well turned out. They have to have a head covered. The only thing you can see is their face. So they really like to groom themselves really well. Again, you can see the detailing over here in the pink mosque. Tourist, one of the rare sight actually. That's our whole gang in Shiraz at the pink mosque. Another shot of it. And again, the other thing about Shiraz is that they have these mansions which were really owned by rich people and beautiful gardens. So this again is this is it's Narenjastan e Ghavamya. That's what this is. It's again, it's a historical site, but it's owned by let's say a very rich noble in those days, and now it's become a museum or a tourist attraction. It's really known for its mirror work and art, especially on the ceilings. Again, just look at the kind of work they've done over here. This again is the ceiling, by the way. I've taken it looking up. Sorry, this had jumped. This was the inside of the Vakil Bazaar, which is uh, again a big tourist attraction. Again, shot of the ceiling. Just look at the intricacy of the work here. That's phenomenal. This again is shot from Isfahan, and yes, it's a very common name over there, and everything is non-alcoholic. That's one, maybe a downside for some. You can't drink over there. Alcohol is completely banned, but really, I think, frankly, it's not such a big deal. And I'm ending with this, which is how our typical car looked, absolutely packed to the gills. We were four per car and just about managed to get all our stuff in. So it was about 12-day trip, pretty rushed. Should have been around at least 14, 15, but I think just given the fact that we were flexible, had our own transport, we could cover a lot more. But I think honestly, there's a lot more that you can see. In fact, you can spend a month in this place and still not get enough of it. And with that, it's the end, and happy to take any questions.